The girl had just reached out to grab the paddle that had fallen into the water. The next second, something terrifying happened. Although she wasn't dragged underwater by the giant piranha, her arm was severely bitten. Seeing this, her companion quickly used a belt to stop the bleeding, but the wound was still gushing blood. It seemed to have hit an artery. Everyone was so frightened they didn't know what to do. Yet Zeke, who loved photography, was still filming with his camera. Seeing the girl's life in danger if this continued, Matt had no choice but to try and retrieve the paddle again. But suddenly, the piranha launched another attack. It opened its gaping jaws and bit the paddle in half. When they finally snapped out of their shock, they realized the girl had already lost her life from massive blood loss. With no other option, the group hurriedly grabbed the only paddle left. They paddled desperately toward the shore. Along the way, they tried calling for rescue, but there was no signal here at all. Even worse, the piranha didn't seem ready to let them go. It sped toward them and started ramming the boat. Simon quickly tried to fend it off with the paddle, but the piranha swam off only a short distance before circling back. In a moment of panic, Simon stabbed the paddle into its body, but he accidentally got pulled into the water along with it. Seeing the piranha rushing straight at him, Simon scrambled to climb back onto the boat. With his companion's help, he narrowly escaped and made it back on board, but the enraged piranha suddenly slammed hard into the boat. This time it was over. Not only was their last paddle gone, but the boat itself was damaged and started leaking. Now they were trapped in the middle of the lake. The piranha was still circling around them, waiting for the chance to strike again. Even with the paddle still stuck in its body, it didn't seem much affected. At this rate, everyone's lives were in jeopardy, so Zeke quickly suggested an idea. They should use the girl's body to lure the piranha away, then row to shore while it was distracted. Though everyone felt reluctant, they had no choice if they wanted to survive, so they threw the body into the water. The scent of blood quickly drew the piranha in, and within seconds, it dragged the girl's corpse down into the depths of the lake. Seeing this, the group frantically began paddling, but without real paddles, and with water flooding into the boat. Their speed was painfully slow. Just then, Zeke suddenly noticed in horror, the piranha had already finished devouring the girl's body, and it was now heading straight toward them. Clearly, the piranha not only had a massive appetite, but it also ate incredibly fast. Meanwhile, the water inside the boat was rising higher and higher. With no other choice, they had to work together. The others used their hands to scoop water out of the boat, while Matt used a plastic lid to keep paddling forward. But the next second, the piranha appeared right in front of them. In one bite, it snatched the plastic lid from Matt's hands. Their hope of survival was shattered once again. They had no choice but to throw snacks from the box into the water, trying to distract the piranha with food. But the piranha wasn't fooled at all, and just as they tried to row again, the creature came swimming toward them once more. At that moment, Zeke, always full of terrible ideas, came up with another plan. Someone had to volunteer to jump into the water and lure the piranha away. That way, the others would have a chance to escape. Matt agreed with Zeke's suggestion, but he argued that the one to go down as bait should be John. After all, it was John who brought them to this lake in the first place, causing this whole crisis. But Simon insisted it should be Zeke, since it was his brilliant idea in the first place. Soon, the group broke into a heated argument about who should be the sacrifice. Each person gave their own reasons why they couldn't go into the water. As the only woman on the boat, Kitty was the first to be ruled out. Matt and Simon were brothers, both strong and fit. If anyone had to row the boat back to shore, it had to be them. Zeke, shameless as ever, declared that he would one day become a great director, that he was destined for big success. And besides, with his poor stamina, going into the water would mean certain death. In the end, that left only John. He had grown up by this lake and was the strongest swimmer among them. If he went in as bait to draw the piranha away, there might still be a sliver of hope. Next came the tense and nerve-wracking voting. The result was obvious, except for Kitty, who voted for Zeke. Everyone else voted for John. It turned out that years of friendship still couldn't withstand the test of life and death. At that moment, John finally saw their true colors. Heartbroken and disillusioned, he jumped into the water. He swam dozens of meters away in one breath. At the same time, the piranha spotted its target and rushed after him. Even though John swam incredibly fast, in the end, he still couldn't escape the predator's pursuit. Within seconds, He disappeared beneath the lake's surface. The others saw this and immediately paddled toward the shore. Kitty rowed desperately while scolding everyone for being so heartless, especially her boyfriend, Matt. She couldn't believe he hadn't voted for Zeke along with her. But in Matt's mind, John had a better chance of survival than Zeke, and he also knew John had always secretly been in love with Kitty, so there was no way he would vote for Zeke. While the group argued fiercely, the bottom of the boat was suddenly struck with a violent blow. The vicious piranha had returned once again. It seemed there was no way they could escape its deadly jaws today. After searching for anything they could use, they only found a few fireworks. They lit them and used them to scare the piranha away. Surprisingly, the trick worked. The piranha was successfully driven from that part of the lake, but the crisis wasn't over. The waterlogged boat kept sinking lower and lower, and sooner or later, the piranha would come back. As everyone struggled to figure out what to do next, Simon suggested sacrificing another person, but this time, Zeke flatly refused, because he knew Matt and Simon were brothers, and Kitty was Matt's girlfriend, which meant he would surely be the one thrown into the water. With the piranha already closing in, the two brothers were about to forcefully throw Zeke into the water as bait. But just then, Zeke revealed a shocking secret. He said that back in the school gym, he had personally seen Simon secretly dating Kitty behind Matt's back. The words had barely left his mouth when Simon immediately swung a punch. He told Matt that Zeke was only trying to stir up trouble to save his own life. Matt felt suspicious, but Simon was still his brother. In the end, he chose to believe him, and together they threw Zeke into the water. As Zeke screamed in agony, begging for his life, the three showed no mercy. Without even looking back, they left him behind. Moments later, Zeke was completely devoured by the piranha. Only his severed hand with his camera floated back up to the surface, but his sacrifice still didn't buy the others a chance to escape. Without paddles, their leaking boat was nearly impossible to move, and though Matt wanted to believe his brother and girlfriend would never betray him, Zeke's words kept gnawing at the back of his mind. In truth, it wasn't hard to tell from their stolen glances. There really was something going on between Simon and Kitty. Still, the urgent matter now was getting to shore alive, so Matt began searching for anything useful. By chance, he found an axe inside John's backpack. With a weapon in hand, Matt instantly felt confident again. He declared that the next time the piranha showed up, it would be its last, but the words had barely left his mouth when suddenly, the boat was struck again by the piranha. A surge of lake water flooded into the vessel. The predator began savagely gnawing at the wooden planks. Within seconds, it tore open a massive hole. At this rate, the boat was going to be ripped apart. Kitty swiftly grabbed the axe and hacked at the piranha with all her strength. The creature darted away in retreat. Her ferocity left the two brothers stunned. For the first time, they looked at Kitty with newfound respect, but their greatest challenge still remained how to get back to shore. Just then, a familiar figure appeared on the bank. It was John, who had miraculously survived the piranha's attack. He looked at the companions who had forced him into the water, still stranded out in the middle of the lake. Then he looked at the boat sitting by the shore, and with a kind heart, John decided to let go of past grudges and sail out to rescue them. But he had no idea that this choice would soon cost him dearly. Seeing that John was still alive, and that he was heading their way, the three, trapped in despair, instantly cheered with joy. But considering how selfishly they had treated him before, John was only willing to tow their boat back to shore. He had no intention of letting them onto his own. With no better choice, the three had to agree. As John tossed them a rope, ready to pull their boat toward land, the piranha suddenly lunged and attacked John's vessel. Caught off guard, John lost his balance and fell onto the deck. In the chaos, the rope wrapped tightly around his neck. At that moment, all it would take was cutting the rope for John to survive. But Kitty, holding the axe, hesitated and did nothing. Neither Matt nor Simon made a move either. Selfishly, the three planned to seize John's boat for themselves. And so, they watched coldly as John was strangled to death. Poor John paid for his kindness with his life, but the three still failed to get what they wanted. As they prepared to pull the boat over, the piranha struck again. It rammed into the vessel and flipped it over. Strangely, this time the piranha didn't rush to devour John. It was clearly planning to trap all three of them first, and then feast at its leisure, refusing to sit and wait for death. Simon grabbed the axe. He hacked into the wooden planks of the boat and used the broken boards as makeshift paddles. The three continued rowing toward the shore, but soon, Matt suddenly stopped, because he wanted to know the truth. Was what Zeke said really true? He demanded Simon and Kitty give him a straight answer now. Both of them looked visibly guilty, so they tried to dodge the question, saying they could explain everything once they made it back to land. But Matt already sensed something was wrong, and he had to get to the bottom of it now. Under his relentless questioning, the two finally admitted they had been secretly seeing each other. In an instant, the bond between the brothers shattered, and the two began to fight furiously. The stronger older brother quickly gained the upper hand, but Matt didn't strike to kill. After all, Simon was still his brother, yet Simon shouted in anger at him. How could he raise his hand against his own brother just for a woman? And besides, it was Kitty who had seduced him first. With those words, he successfully shifted the blame onto Kitty. At that moment, someone needed to distract the piranha, so the two brothers came to an agreement. They decided to throw Kitty into the water as bait. Even facing death, Kitty still tried to sow discord between them. She told Matt that the one she truly loved was Simon. Furious, Matt immediately tossed her into the lake. Kitty struggled desperately to resist, but Simon blocked her with the axe. Helpless, Kitty could only vanish beneath the surface in search of another chance to survive. Losing his girlfriend, Matt was clearly shaken. Although Simon had confessed everything, the bond between the brothers could never return to what it once was. So Simon, determined to eliminate future trouble, decided to get rid of his brother as well. Fortunately, Matt realized in time, and once again used his strength to overpower him. He beat Simon until he begged for mercy, but this time, Matt wasn't about to let him off so easily. In the chaos, Simon slipped and fell into the water. The earlier fight had left his head bleeding badly. Not wanting to watch his brother die like this, Matt made the quick decision to dive in after him. But just as he was dragging Simon back toward the boat, the long-missing piranha suddenly reappeared. Seeing what was happening, Simon didn't warn Matt. Instead, he cruelly kicked him straight toward the predator and seized the chance to swim for shore. With no time to fight back, Matt was bitten hard by the piranha. After a brief struggle, he was dragged under the water. Meanwhile, Kitty, who had just gone under moments earlier, miraculously managed to climb onto the overturned boat. Taking advantage of the moment when the piranha carried off John's corpse, she jumped into the water and swam hard for the shore. After a grueling swim, Kitty finally reached land, but Simon surfaced close behind her, having witnessed him kill Matt. Kitty panicked and tried to flee, but there was no way Simon would let her go. He caught up quickly and forced Kitty underwater, holding her down until she stopped breathing completely. He thought that with the only witness gone, the terrible secret of the lake would never be exposed. But suddenly, a light shone from ahead. An old man slowly appeared before him. It was John's grandfather. Even then, Simon tried to make excuses, but he didn't realize the old man had already found Zeke's camera by the lake and had seen everything. Faced with the murderer who had killed his grandson, the old man didn't hesitate for a second. He raised his gun and shot Simon. The stench of blood quickly drew the piranha in, and in the end, Simon too could not escape being devoured.